Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 608. I had the white pieces and decided to play c4, the English opening. My opponent goes e5, going for a reverse Sicilian. I go with g3, and we get a very normal kind of setup. You can see our moves are all the top choice or the second choice in every case. It looks like mostly going for second choice. Knight c3, okay, that was the top choice. And then bishop b4 is a second choice. This is kind of an interesting way to play. And in spite of it being fairly popular, I don't know if I don't really have a plan against it. I wasn't sure what to play here. So I went with e4, which, I think it's not a bad plan. Just going for the Botvinnik setup. But it's not the main idea here. The main idea here is knight f3 and possibly knight d5. So I just wanted to explore those a little bit. The knight f3 move, the normal way of continuing is for black just to castle. If he takes right away, if he plays bishop takes knight, I can take back, and if he plays e4, I can play knight g5. So e4 is met with knight g5, so that's not so great. Black castles here, and then that gives white time to play d3, and this looks like a reasonably comfortable setup for white, so I'd be okay with that. I was more afraid of there might be lines where black can get in that e4 pawn push, and turns out there is. After knight f3, the main sequence goes black castles, white castles, and then he pushes e4. And now this is a bit awkward. I can play knight to g5 going after this pawn, trying to round it up, but he can throw in this exchange, takes off my knight here, and then brings his rook to e8 to defend it. So he's actually holding on to this pawn. And I don't know, this seems a little bit uncomfortable for white. Top moves here were d3 or e3 to try and undermine that pawn. But it seems like this knight out here is in danger of getting stranded. So I'm not too happy with this kind of continuation. So that's if knight f3. The other way of playing this in this position is instead to play knight to d5. And maybe that's a little more interesting. If I want an alternative to playing e4 like I played in the game, knight to d5, and then I'm kicking his bishop, and say the bishop drops back to c5. Now I can play knight f3, and if he pushes the pawn forward, knight g5 will round it up. So castles, and I can throw in d3 here to prevent the pawn from coming forward, or the main line goes castles and d6. Even here, it's a little bit still premature to push that pawn forward. So this would be an okay setup. I would be okay playing like this. But that other line where he castles and then pushes the e pawn is kind of annoying for white. So I don't know. So it's my choice. That's right. In this position, I can choose between knight f3 or knight d5. So I think I would choose the knight d5 move myself. But it looks like both of them are playable. Anyway, I went with e4. And if we look at the opening book, after my opponent's moved knight d4, which is pretty logical, we're just out of the opening book, so we'll stay on this page. And we get a position which is about even. Nothing too much is going on until my opponent starts making some mistakes. But to start with, this is all okay, and we'll come to the first mistake. Not too long. Let's see. We get some normal moves. He plays d6. I play a3 to kick his bishop. He decides to save the bishop instead of trading it, and I hop my knight into d5 since he's not going to trade off that knight. Trading the knight would bring a pawn forward and harass his knight, so it's logical for him to not trade there. He castles here. Play d3. Now this opens up a line for my bishop. He plays h6. Maybe with h6, black is starting to may get in a little bit of trouble. Although it's not bad at that point. But a more accurate way of playing would be knight takes d5. This was a chess engine suggestion, and then bringing this knight over here. And this prevents me from pushing my b pawn forward like I did in the game. So h6 is maybe just a little bit of a slow move. At this point, I decide to take off his knight. Got to get rid of that piece sooner or later. He took back with the c pawn. Cancel that. He took back with the c pawn. I was realizing actually I could get in this move b4 because of my knight here, even if he had taken with the e-pawn, I still would have been able to get that move. But this makes it even easier for me to play b4 and kick his bishop back. Bishop goes to b6. Let's see. I played f4, expanding on both sides. And this is quite a comfortable position for white. I think white is pretty much in control here. He tried bishop to g4. And this move is the first blunder, although I didn't spot the blunder. But now that I've told you, maybe you can find the tactic. What's the best move for white right here? Okay, pause the video if you want some time to think about it. I'm going to give the answer away now. It's a very straightforward and common kind of tactic known as eliminating the defender. And in this case, you can do it with tempo. Knight takes f6 with check. And but he needs to take the knight or move the king. Either way, he loses the bishop here because that knight was the only piece defending the bishop. So that's a classic case of undermining or removing the defender, destroying the guard, something like that. Very typical kind of tactic, something I should have at least been on the lookout for. Anyway, I noticed my queen was under attack, and I moved my queen aside, so I didn't take advantage of that. But, well, my opponent makes another mistake shortly and gives me another chance. So let's see, he took the knight off here. I took with the e-pawn so that I would have this mass of pawns advancing on the queen side. He plays rook e8, and let's see, I decide to exchange here. And right here is his mistake. He needs to take back with the rook. He actually needs to keep this pawn on d6 to help control the c5 square, or at least force some exchanges here to prevent this pawn mass that I have from becoming overwhelming. When he takes with the pawn, that's pretty much game over. So if he were to take with the rook, let's see, my queen moves to f2. I get some pressure here, but he can defend with queen d7. And this is okay. I mean, white's a little better, but black is still holding on here. Anyway, he took with the pawn, and now I can just win this game. In fact, the chess engine wants me to immediately push on with c5, drive the bishop back, and then d6. And if the bishop, actually the chess engine wants to trade here, but the other option would be the bishop to go all the way back to this schedule, and then just come out and pile up on the f7 square. And this becomes a very difficult position for for black to play, because these pawns can advance and control the second rank and prevent him from defending f7 very easily, and I can just pile up on it. So he's going to be in big trouble there. So c5 is winning immediately. Let's see, I played queen f2 first, and he went rook e7, and now I play c5, because now I realize that after I play c5, his bishop only has one square to go to, and then I have this fork. So this wins material, and so d6 is a good move, but not the best move. The chess engine wants to just sit on this tremendous position with these advanced pawns and build up in a different way. So it plays bishop d2 here. And, if he tries to unwind, for example, well, this was one line, say queen d7 to create a little bit of space here and help protect f7. b5, just pushing these pawns forward. The bishop drops back to b8 now, getting away from this fork. Not worrying about that, playing bishop b4, though. This kind of looks at the rook there. The rook drops back to e8, and then c6 now harassing the queen. And after this exchange, the problem is the queen can't stay on the 7th rank here defending the pawn. The queen is the only piece left now defending f7, and by pushing these pawns forward, even though this one is unprotected on c6, the queen can take it, but it gives up the f7 pawn, and also the queen's protecting the rook there. But anyway, the attack crashes through with the two bishops, the queen and the rook. It's just too much for black here. So anyway, that would be winning. I played d6, so this is winning as well, but it's a long game after this. And, in playing a long game, things can go wrong. And black has some counterplay because black has these central pawns. So let's go forward. I play this part okay, and my opponent is doing all right as well. There was one more mistake here, or one more neat tactic, I guess. When when black played this move, queen d7, I defended. I played king h2, defending this pawn with my king because he's lined up here. But there's a nice tactical move here that accomplishes the same thing. So if you want to pause the video here and see if you can figure it out, it's white's turn to move. What's the best move for white right here? Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. The answer is rook takes e5. So pretty unusual looking move, but that pawn was loose. When the queen went back to d7, it gave up that pawn. The problem is now for black, if he takes, which is not a good move, I can continue with rook takes rook, and the queen is overloaded. The queen was defending the bishop and the rook, so this actually costs black a piece. So rook to e5 is a good move. He can't take on h3. He has to play something else here, and I just have snagged that pawn, and I can double on the e file. So that would be excellent position for white. So another cute tactic that I missed. I played king h2, and as I said, the game continues. He plays bishop f5, targeting my my weak d pawn, and I try and defend it and drive his pieces back. But well, it's not yet overwhelming. I did find this tactic, which is a nice little taking advantage of the pin. So I was able to pick up another pawn. So now he only has one pawn for the piece, and I'm still winning all through up until a certain point here. So right here, yeah. And now at this point, the game had been going on for quite a while, and I had more time on my clock than my opponent. But he had to slam the moves out because he was short on time, and so that sometimes disrupts my thinking. Sometimes I lose because of my opponent's time trouble, and this happens in over the board chess as well. I don't know, the extra tension from the time trouble, even if it's not my time trouble, seems to badly affect my chess playing ability or sight of the board, just noticing simple things. And here's a great example. He played rook d2, attacking my queen. If we back up just a move, my previous move was queen to e2. I was just lining up and thinking about trading some pieces off here, but it also threatens to trade the queen, which I hadn't noticed. And when he plays rook to d2, of course I can just take his queen. His queen's not defended. So that would be a simple win too. Anyway, the way I played it, after queen takes d2, this is actually just a draw with best play. Rook takes d2. I mean, I saw that I was getting a couple of pieces, a rook and a bishop for the queen, and I get this with check, and I thought this invasion might be worth something. I was planning to move my rook here and bring my bishop here, but I can't do that because my bishop is pinned. So I was planning rook e8 and bishop e4 check, and I thought I would have some kind of mating net here against his king. But unfortunately, it doesn't work at all. So what I needed to play here was, instead of rook e8, I could still draw this game with bishop c3. And hitting his rook, rook goes to c2, king h1, unpinning. Now the queen comes into f5, trying to get to the 7th rank here. Now I can bring my rook into e8. And the queen comes to f2. Now I can play the check. And he blocks the check. I can grab the rook. But and so it looks like I'm just completely winning. But in fact, it's only a draw because his queen here can deliver a perpetual check. So that's really the best I had at this point, was that starting with bishop c3, that sequence, and unpinning basically, and getting that bishop e4 idea working. He's still only good enough for a draw in this position. But rook to e8 here, which I played immediately, this is losing. And he played rook takes b2. I went g4, harassing his queen, and he ran out of time. So I was lucky to win, but on time. But he actually has a forced mate in 6 here, I think. So this is it's just not a good position for me. My king is too open. He just needs to bring his queen over to line up against my bishop, and I don't have any good way of defending it. He has control of the 2nd rank here. So a winning position for black, but he ran out of time. Anyway, a good example, I guess, from black's point of view of how to stay in the game after making a mistake and getting behind, just trying to complicate things and keep the game going, and then he just ran out of time. He would have been able to turn this into a win with a little more time. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.